everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. Rebecca Shaffer, and I am the Director of Psychological Services at the Cincinnati Fragile X Center. I'm partnering with the National Fragile X Foundation to provide you with some information that will hopefully help now that your child or your young adult is home. So we're going to call this series, My Child is Home, Now What? Today we're going to talk about keeping a routine and how important that can be, and give lots of suggestions about how to actually make that happen. So why have a routine? Routines are really, really important, especially for individuals with Fragile X syndrome. So we know that routines provide predictability, and when we have an individual who tends to have more anxiety in general and have kind of a higher baseline or lower threshold of anxiety, anything that we can do that's going to prepare them for what's coming is going to be more successful. So if you're using a routine or a schedule, that's going to lower their anxiety and help them to feel more comfortable because they know what's coming. In addition, it fills the day, so you have a lot more time on your hands right now with your child or young adult than you may have had before when they were attending school or in a work program. In addition, it makes time concrete, so it lets them know that this day is not going to last forever, this activity is not going to last forever, I just have to do this for a while, and then something else is coming. So there's lots of formats that you can use for a schedule. You know, often when you're coming into clinic to see me or another psychologist or behavior therapist, you're going to receive a fancy visual schedule, right? So it's very nice pictures, it's laminated, it has Velcro, all of those nice options. We are a bit in survival mode right now, so I want to give you some options that are probably more feasible for you to do in your home without having to have a printer and a laminator and Velcro. But we do still want to keep things visual as much as we can. This allows them to process the information longer as well as reference it again. So it's much easier to come back to if it's physical in some way. So how can we do this? We need to get creative because the way we typically do it might be different right now. So first, you could save some pictures from the internet and you could swipe through them on your phone or on a computer to show the pictures of what's coming. You could also draw pictures. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of that. I don't know about you, but I'm not really an artist, but it doesn't take much to give a really small picture that's understandable to a child or a young adult. You can also create a schedule on the computer, so you could use pictures and keep them on the computer and then come back and reference the computer when you need to see what's next in the routine or the schedule. You can also download an app. So there's one called Good Karma that has pretty nice visual schedules. It is slightly pricey for an app though, and there are other options as well. There's several that are free. I haven't tried all of them, so I'm not going to recommend any specifically, but they're definitely worth downloading and taking a look at. But I also want to remind you, those downloaded apps are great options, but you can also do something a lot less high tech and still have the same results. So here are some examples of some visual schedules. And the ones on the end, so all of these are real life ones. The ones on the ends are low tech real life ones. So the first one on the screen has both words and pictures with it. It's a very detailed, long schedule. I would recommend that you start much smaller than that. So maybe 4 or 5 items off of this list would be sufficient, and then maybe add something later. So it has wake up, get dressed, music and dance, learning, snack, outside, playtime, lunch. So it goes through all of the steps. That has a very, very simple doodle on it, which is a great idea to help your kid know what's happening. The one in the middle is a little bit more high tech, so it has the words next to the pictures. These pictures were all pulled off of the internet. You can easily go to Google Images or something like that and pull up some pictures to be used. And then the one on the end was drawn by my wonderful husband today for our kids. So it's very, very simple. There's no words because my children aren't reading yet. And so it's wake up, eat breakfast, do some schoolwork, play outside, and then eat lunch. So, very simple in terms of what we're going to do. We didn't actually go to a playground today, but that's our outside picture. And for each of these, you could either use, if it is laminated, you can use a dry erase marker to mark it off. If it's just going to be used for that day, you can just mark it through with a pencil or a marker when it's finished. If you want to reuse it every day, then maybe you could do like a check mark beside it each time and then do a check mark again the next day. So let's talk about options to schedule their time with. So I mentioned earlier I would recommend starting small. So if you have never had a schedule at home, it's probably not going to be successful to add in a schedule that's going to last, the entire day, because it's going to be really overwhelming both for your child and for you as a parent managing that. So I would recommend that you start with 3 to 4 activities initially. Once those are done, you can do another 3 to 4 activities. And I'm going to give you lots of options in terms of things to do to fill your day, because we have a lot of time to fill now, right? So everything from schoolwork through music, art, work tasks, all of those great things. And this is going to be different based on your child's developmental level and where they're at. So, someone who has a toddler or preschooler, it's going to be a very simple schedule. If you have a young adult who's been going to a work program and now they're not there, you might have some more complex tasks that you're adding to that routine or schedule. All right, so let's talk about some ideas for each option. So for schoolwork, ABC Mouse is free right now. It's a great learning program. So that's one option if any of the components to it are appropriate for your child. But it can also be things like reading books, practicing counting. I would recommend making that as tangible as possible, so having actual things to count instead of trying to do a worksheet, and practicing writing. And then your school has probably provided some work to work on, so that's also a great option to practice those things or things like them. So as you see those worksheets that they're providing, kind of adding to it and creating your own as you go. Nothing fancy, just simple things that are going to be educational. They're going to add to your child's learning while they're at home. So the second category is social. So, we're all practicing some social distancing right now, so that makes social interactions very difficult. So let's think outside the box in terms of how you could continue to promote social skills with your child, whether they have great social skills already or they don't have great social skills. The other thing we want to think about is that sometimes as our individuals with Fragile X get older, they start to isolate a lot more at home, and we can worry about agoraphobia or other really intense social phobias happening at that time. So just because we can't go out and have those experiences in the community, we still want to encourage them to happen. So you want to think about ways you can create social opportunities. One would be to FaceTime friends from school or from their work program. It's definitely possible that you already have that contact information. If not, you may be able to get it from the school, or the school may have set up a program like Google Meet through their school stuff that they can connect with other teams or kids in that. I know lots of kids that are playing board games with friends over FaceTime, or they're exercising together over FaceTime. So maybe you FaceTime with a friend and you do 10 jumping jacks, and that's your social interaction for the day. You can also FaceTime family members and have them engage through the FaceTime, have them ask some questions, and then just schedule that into your day so that it happens every single day. You can rotate those family members, ask multiple people to be available to talk to them on the phone. And then practice conversation. So this is a speech skill as well as a social skill. So we want to make sure that we're continuing to practice those conversation skills that are likely happening at school when they're there. So as you do meals, make sure that you're having a conversation during it. You can give out 3 different topics and ask them what they would like to talk about. and then really reinforce it when they are being social. All right, and then let's think about sensory. So we know sensory diets, sensory activities are very important to our individuals with Fragile X syndrome, and that continues to be true while they're home all day. So thinking about sensory type activities, you could do things like Play-Doh, rice in a container that you bury stuff in and dig it back out, water play, so go take a bath or a shower. You know, those can happen a little bit more frequently right now because they're home a lot, and they're really fun sensory activities for some of our kids. Slime, as long as it's not too messy, right? Paint, and then if you have swings or trampolines in your home, those are also really great things to capitalize on right now and schedule so that they're doing it throughout the day instead of it just being, well, he can go swing when he wants to swing. No, we're going to make it part of your day so that we can keep your anxiety low. So more ideas for each option. So physical activity is so incredibly important. It's hard to get younger kids and young adults with Fragile X to be physically active sometimes. So we want to make sure that we're still attempting to do that. So if you have a trampoline in your house, a small trampoline, that's a great option. You can also play follow the leader. So we're going to jump like a kangaroo. We're going to walk on our tippy toes. We're going to take big steps and small steps. Walk like animals, like I said, jump like a kangaroo, swing like a monkey. All of those types of things make it a little bit more fun. And then if you have the space, tag inside is a nice option. It's probably not something that any of us would normally think about doing in our houses, but it may get your kids active in a way that they wouldn't be willing to do otherwise. All right, electronics time. You know, your kids probably have this down pat, right? Doing things on the iPad, watching television. The Cincinnati Zoo has a Facebook activity every day at 3 o'clock every weekday. They introduce a new animal and they give some facts about the animal. It's been a huge hit at my house right now, and I've heard that it is at lots of other houses too. So that's one electronics option that's also going to be pretty educational. PBS Kids has lots of great options on their website in terms of games that are simple, but also creative, and they're going to give some educational components as well. Outside time, so this gets a little tricky, right? Because we're trying to socially distance, but if you can go for a walk every day that it's nice outside or walk the dog every day. My neighborhood is having a scavenger hunt right now where we walk around the neighborhood and we're checking stuff off of a list. You could easily do a scavenger hunt outside though, so we're going to make a list of white houses, black cars, tree, flowers, and when your child sees those, they could mark them off as you go to make it a little bit more interesting to go for a walk. So more options, you definitely want to build in some free time and choice time into that schedule, just because this is building independent play skills as well as independent leisure skills. So I would give options for this if your child has a hard time coming up with free time ideas. So give 3 choices that are all good options, and whatever they pick is going to be fine. If they can't make a choice, then you can pick for them. I would also make meals and snacks part of that routine. Like, let's add them to the structure so we know when it's happening. Put them on the schedule. Try to do them in the kitchen at the table if at all possible. If you are roaming around the house snacking all day long, it gets a lot trickier to make sure you're focusing on other activities or that you're really having that social component of sitting down. I know that it's not feasible for every kid, though, to sit at the table and have a snack. So you do what's going to work for your family, but this might be a good option to add some structure to home life right now. And then cooking and preparing together. So cooking meals or stirring or, mixing, all of those things are really important independent living skills. It's a great time to work on them. Make some cookies and have them dump some of the ingredients in. Have them help to prepare the snack if at all possible. And then work tasks. So these can be chores that are at their specific developmental level, things that they can do. So for a young kid, we might be saying, put the clothes in the hamper, bring me your plate, bring me your cup. You could maybe do some sorting of laundry together, showing them, oh, that goes in that pile, this one goes in that pile. If they're older individuals and they have a job already, you want to think about incorporating some tasks that are very similar to their job into their daily schedule. So for those individuals who are at a work program or they're at an independent job, they're probably missing that a lot right now. They're missing the structure and the activity of it. So if they're stocking things at their job, then maybe you're going to have them help organize and stock something at home. So try to think through some tasks that would be very similar to what they're doing at their job and incorporate it into your day. And then two last options. So art, maybe attempting to do some drawing, coloring, painting. You could create an art wall at your house right now so that the art that they're creating is put up on the wall. There's several individuals doing some art lessons that are free online, and you can access those both on Instagram and on Facebook. So that might be a nice option if your kid is into art. And then music. So YouTube has lots of music, lots of kids' music that you can access. And use this as a physical activity too. So dance while you're listening to the music. Get them to jump around with you and be active with music. Like I said, you can use YouTube, Amazon Prime, Pandora. You can make music. So create some drums out of some kitchen bowls and be drumming those. Try to add some of that type of music activity to the schedule. So this is a complicated example of a modified schedule. I'm definitely not recommending that you go this detailed, but it's just a nice example of how we can mirror what they're getting in terms of schedule at home compared to what their regular schedule was like. So this child, this was a typical Monday schedule. They got up, got ready, went to school, and they had morning instruction. So to parallel that morning instruction at home, we're going to create some activities. So ABC Mouse, unstructured break, we're going to match some socks, do a sensory break, go get the mail, and then have another break. They had a sensory group at their school, so we're going to mirror that at home. We're going to do taste-safe finger paint or whipped cream for painting. Set the table, eat lunch, play basketball outside if you have a basketball hoop, and then afternoon instruction again that covers, parallels to that morning instruction, but involves carrying the laundry, switching laundry loads, doing a file folder. All of those are great options. Then this has a snack at the table again, and then it's going to move into what would have been our normal home time, which is probably more play-based. So maybe we'll play some Legos, do a board game, and then have a break. And then they normally would have swim lesson, which is impossible. So we'll do some water play to parallel what that swim lesson would have been. Dinner, we're going to help stir the food, eat the dinner, and then have iPad and TV time in the evening. So the structure is very similar to what would have been happening if they had been going to school. And then I want you to think about transitions between activities. So using a visual timer is a great idea. Most schools are using a visual timer, so it would be similar to what they're experiencing at school. There are apps for your phone, so Time Timer is a nice one if you don't already know it. That is one you have to pay for. But there are lots and lots of free ones if you just type into the App Store visual timer. Give a verbal warning, and if you don't want to do a fancy timer, you can do a countdown with your hand. So when all of my fingers are gone, we'll be done, and you slowly bring your fingers down. Oh, all my fingers are gone, we're all done. And then think about flexibility right now. So you have a whole day to fill. If your child is enjoying an activity, it's okay to keep it going for a little bit longer than you normally would. There's no real timetable here. So if something's going well, you can let it go for a little bit longer. I would end it before it gets really boring though, because you want to use it again. in the schedule, and you don't want to lose the opportunity with them getting very, very bored with it. So tips for implementing: keep it simple the first couple of days. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't overwhelm your child. You want this to be successful. So start small and build yourself up. Be willing to fail and to change it up. So if it doesn't go well the first day, that's okay. Maybe you just tweak it a little bit and try a couple of new things, and then you'll try again the next day. Ask your youth or young adult for input. Ask them for things they'd like to have in their schedule, because they're more going to be likely to be motivated and engaged if they have some input. Add a reward for following each step if you need to. So if schedules are hard to follow for your child, then you can give a reward for each step, a small one. Or if they're pretty good at following steps, then you can give a reward for completion of the whole schedule at the end of the day. Refer to it as, this is our schedule, just like if we were at school. We have a routine here like we had at school. This is just our new home routine, so that they understand just because we're not out of school doesn't mean we're not still going to have a similar routine. All right. So all right, so that's it. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to cover several topics for the next couple of webinars, things like managing stress, how to talk about COVID-19 with your child or your young adult, managing your own stress, as well as some mindfulness skills for your child, and then some suggestions of leisure skills, fun things to do with your kid while you're stuck inside. All right, thanks again for joining me. I hope you're all doing well and that you're staying healthy. Bye.